And these poor young trees, they're trying to hold themselves up against this wind, and it is very difficult. We see that we're getting waves of this and waves of this, and they are, each time they seem to get a little bit stronger, and they last a little bit longer. So we're going to continue to monitor it out here. We're here at the Emergency Operations Center, where we've seen the lights go out here inside the building and outside the building as well. We've noticed that now when the winds come, they come howling. There's a drone to it, and you can hear it going through the trees. It's pretty ominous when you listen to it, especially when all the lights are out and it's dark. I can tell you that's pretty scary. So folks who are going through that, who are dealing with their lights being out and all of that, I can definitely understand the fear that they are experiencing, because just being here and having the lights, we're pretty much protected. We've got concrete on 3 sides of us, and we're pretty much protected where we are. But I can tell you, when the lights go out, all bets are off. Things change dramatically. We're going to continue to monitor the situation out here and keep you guys updated. And of course, we'll be listening to your every word to find out when the next band will be coming our way. Back to you.
Thank you, David. I'm glad you clarified, because I looked at your shot. I'm like, wow, it looks really calm there. But as you were talking, we had a gust of 57 miles per hour at Flagler Beach Station. So it looked a little calm. I'm glad you're in safety. And obviously you said that you can hear that wind coming through. It's howling. Well, the recent gust to 57, and I think it's a typo. Oh, it's 6:50 a.m. Okay, because I saw miles per hour and I thought, well, 65, but no, 57 miles per hour coming out of Flagler Beach Station just a minute ago. So that's why David said he's hearing the wind, and you could see it. It comes roaring on in waves, and that's kind of how it's going to go for the next several hours in Flagler County. Actually, waves for a while, and then steadily picking up and becoming sustained at 55, 65. Gusts 75, 85, potentially close to 90. But because the storm is wobbling, you see the white line, and for those of you that can't see it, I've drawn in a white line and extrapolated the path of this storm, which is not going to make landfall at Cape Canaveral. It's just at this point physically not possible, because it's not going to put the brakes on and turn left and go back southwest. So it's beyond the Cape, basically. It's now east-northeast of the Cape, which means it will not hit the Cape, and it's continuing its wobble to the north-northwest with what we're seeing here, a little bit of a north wobble, and it's keeping a bulk of the worst activity offshore, and that's good news. But it's a glimmer of good news in a dire situation for some that are getting pounded by the heavy rain, the strong wind, the power outages that are hitting occasionally and maybe sustained for some of you as that eye continues to roll along the coast. It's still a major hurricane with winds sustained at 120. I'm going to put this back into a position where you can see it roll and watch the bands of rain move in. Lake, northwestern orange, southeastern orange getting bands of heavy rain. We've had gusts out at Sanford, 45. We've had gusts, and we're going to check in with Scott Feist here shortly. We've had gusts over toward the coast. Edgewater to 71. Gusts that have pushed 40, 50 miles per hour in parts of Osceola County. Haven't had any reports from Marion, and I'm sure you're thinking, well, what's going on in Marion? What's going on in Sumter? Right now, you're getting some general wind to potentially up to tropical storm force. You get those winds that are pushing up close to 39 miles per hour in the gusts, but your sustained winds are more like 25 to 35, which could be a breezy afternoon in a summer where the East Coast and West Coast sea breezes are moving. So nothing severe for you, and that's good news. Some rain, occasionally moderate, but the rainfall totals in Marion and Sumter County probably in line of 1, 2, maybe 3 eastern portions of the county. Inland areas up in Sanford, we've already picked up over 5 or 6 inches, and that was earlier today. We had today's Friday. Get my days mixed up. You know, it's what happens when you work and don't sleep. But up at Sanford, they had almost 6 inches of rain Thursday, and that caused a number of issues with some area flooding. Haven't had any reports of flooding recently, but we are sending the surge up. By the way, high tide is at 12:30 p.m., correct. It's going to be just after noon, so 12:30 p.m. for tide, high tide, in the areas that are seeing this storm move nearby. So that won't be a good combination when you get high tide and surge coming together. And that's why right now we're looking at the worst surge could be from Flagler County northward toward Jacksonville, and where we get a nice curl up toward Jacksonville and then curls around toward Savannah. The shape, the way this is moving, the proximity to the coast, that is going to be a really interesting area to watch with coastal surge, because I think 11 feet is an easy bet if it continues the path and curls around that coast. With the way the coast curls, the way the landscape lays between Jacksonville and Savannah, the surge is going to be a really problematic thing up that way.
I have the tide times.
And you do have the tide. Oh, great, right there.
In one.
Okay, so you got this. Yeah, let's show you that, and then I'm going to get to Scott Feist here in a second, because this is something we want you to know. The tides for today, you see their high tide 12:48 Daytona Beach, and the problem there is that at that point, Matthew's going to be pretty much east, or maybe at its current rate northeast of you, but that's sending that wave, or that water, the waves, which, you know what, I'm going to pull up wave heights as well here in a second. It's sending that toward the coast, so that pushes the surge up. Yeah. High tide Cocoa Beach, 12:30 p.m. So at that point, the storm is far enough north, I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. All right, so Daytona Beach, 58 knots, roughly 65, 66 miles per hour. And that's Daytona Beach, a gust here just recently at the regional airport. Okay, before I get to Scott, hold on just a second in the background. I'm going to check out the wave heights, and I'm going to scoot the map a little over, and we're going to see what we're dealing with near the center of circulation. So we've got the eye sitting basically northeast, and this is where we're looking at the wind rotating around. And here we go. I'm going to pick out the middle here. 32-foot waves. That's east of the Cape. Okay, so that's off to the northeast, the strongest part of the hurricane, the northeast quadrant. 32 feet. Translate out, and you know what? We're getting some really good waves. So I'm going to zoom in. We'll start here in Brevard County. And I want to point out that near the coastline right now, and even up through Banana River, looks like 9 feet, Indian River Lagoon, 10-foot, 11-foot wave heights. That seems really high for the Indian River, but if that's the case, then we're pulling that in with the surge, and that's pushing the surge up. Offshore, we're up to 19 feet in a hurry. Okay, so I'm going to walk up the coast very quickly. Notice there's a little bit of a lull, and that is here near just southeast of Shiloh, where we start to bring waves up a little bit, but up and near Edgewater. This is where I wanted to zoom in. Up and near Edgewater, Daytona Beach. And we're going to get cameras here shortly because we're getting daylight. Look at the wave heights. This is according to our product here. That is a 19-foot wave height crashing toward the shore. And again, we're getting daylight here soon, which is going to be good because then we'll pull up our Daytona Beach camera, which is going to be really hard to see because it's dark. So you're probably not going to see much at this point. But this is starting to translate up the coast.
Go to it now.
The camera?
Yeah.
You got the camera up? Oh, you do have. Okay, so is that Cocoa Beach?
Yeah, Cocoa Beach camera. That wave just came in all the way up to the
Wait,
dune.
that must be
that's
Daytona.
Daytona.
I'm gonna.
Or
Here,
Savannah.
let's.
Okay.
17 feet, just southeast of where our camera is going to be shot or pointing, and just to the north of Daytona Beach,
You got it
15 feet. You got it? Okay. So, is that max 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sources here. All right, wow. Wow, look at the beach. You can see the movement of the water. And the water, by the way, this is it's a Ruud Ziffercan there at the Ocean Deck Restaurant. If you know the area, there's the pier, Joe's Crab Shack in the distance. There's still a light on, so you still have power. It looks like the Ocean Deck Restaurant here left still has power as well. Obviously, our camera is still running, so we've got some power. But let's see if I can pan this. Now it's it's thinking. I think it's frozen. But you can see how high the water has come up. And what I want to do is once I get this camera and I get the ability to pan and zoom, I'll pan across, see what the horizon looks like, and then I'm going to zoom out toward the pier. Because these waves are huge, and if they're pushing 17 feet right up close to the shore, they're crashing over the Daytona Beach Pier. And now that we're getting daylight, we will be able to show you these images and show you how dramatic this water will come up in some of these areas. We've got the Flagler Beach Pier camera, the Beaver Tornado cam up there at the Flagler Beach Pier, where we had yesterday some minor damage reported. We're going to see where the waves are at that point. We'll watch that camera. Daytona Beach, Cape Canaveral, Halifax, Cape Canaveral hospital cam. Maureen was trying to show that earlier. I think the power went out on that one. The Cocoa Beach was going in and out. And then down toward Melbourne Beach, and we'll get that camera. Now that we're getting daylight, we'll get that camera as well. So wave heights, again, they are being estimated here at 15 to 17 feet close to the shore, and that's what you're seeing, very rough surf that continues to lash out. We are still expecting some excessive beach erosion up and down the coast of Volusia and Brevard County. All right, so I'm going to take a break here and send it out to Scott Feiss, who is standing by in Sanford. Scott, if you're still in the same area, I'm wondering how the houseboat fared. Did the houseboat float away?
Hey there, Brian. We actually have moved inland. We've decided to get away from the houseboat because the rain and the wind coming off the St. Johns River, all of those feeder bands became pretty intense. My photographer Eugene and I were inside our news car, and literally the car just started to shake it as if maybe there were 10 people outside that car rocking it back and forth. We looked at each other and we decided, all right, the time has come to actually seek some inside shelter. So that's where we are. We're here downtown Sanford right now, and as you can see, there's just a little bit debris here in the square. This might be from boarding up buildings. Take a look behind me. Over here, this Panini restaurant actually has boarded up here, trying to take some precautions. Now, other businesses downtown haven't. Over here, in the past few moments, we have seen a dramatic decrease in the amount of rain, and then also how much water is falling out of the gutter that separates this Panini restaurant from its partner restaurant next door. When we first arrived, this was like a waterfall. All the water from the roof was pouring down into the square here, and it was dancing, so to speak, on the bricks. It's actually kind of neat to look at, and that's kind of starting to slow down just a little bit. We're still getting some good wind. If you look up here in the trees, you can see the wind is going back and forth. And again, we've found some shelter in the square in downtown Sanford, where it's a little bit quieter. We can still hear the wind, and every time we get one of those wind gusts, there's some power lines right over there. We're not in any danger. We're staying far away from them. They're still intact, but you can hear the wind playing inside those power lines. It's almost like an airplane engine taking off. There's this initial like thrust, and as the wind moves through them, there it was again. As the wind moves through them, then it kind of just dissipates, and that airplane sound taking off disappears. Now here in Seminole County, where we are at, there is a curfew now in effect. That curfew started actually at 5 o'clock this morning on Friday, and it goes all the way up until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning on Saturday. They're asking everybody to please stay off the roads, except if you are responding to an immediate storm concern. Of course, at this point, anybody who is part of a medical profession, they're allowed out on the roads, but they like everybody just to stay home. Now, if you do have to go to work today, Sanford police tell me that's okay. You are allowed to leave your home, go to your place of business, and go to work. That is acceptable, but they're really hoping that everybody at this point has indeed hunkered down, that they have their storm kits ready, and that they can just take a collective deep breath, stay inside where it is safe. That's the latest out here in Sanford. Now, back to you.
Thanks, Scott. The mystery is, did that houseboat float away? I hope you'll find out for us. And I feel horrible for the folks that own that. I was getting, we were watching a houseboat that had come loose from its ties and was bobbling away, and I almost had to have a Dramamine just watching that in the churning river there. I'm taking a look at the Daytona Beach area on Storm Tracker 13 Doppler radar because about 10, 12 miles offshore, you've got a band of heavy rain and some wind. Wilbur by the Sea at its current rate, going to be there by 7:27. This thing is moving at almost 50 miles per hour to the west-southwest. So Daytona Beach shores at 7:27 here, Harbor Oaks 7:29, South Daytona 7:29, and Blake at 7:31. This is going to be a band of some briefly heavy rain and some very gusty wind. And we do have Christina Jensen out at the Daytona Beach EOC. And Christina, you're about to get hit with another round of some heavy rain and gusty wind.
Yeah, that's right. I can definitely tell because in the last 30 minutes we are seeing heavy rain. I can barely look at the camera, and that hurricane force winds of up to 40 miles per hour. Now, just 15 minutes ago, the weather was so severe that the EOC building lost power. Luckily, they had a backup generator, but we did hear 2 transformers explode. Now, just want to show you how crazy this wind is, because you can see that flagpole right there. It's swaying back and forth, and the flags are just kind of going in the direction of the wind. I'm told that right now 9,000 people are without power in Volusia.
All right, Christina, we're having a tough time with that storm. Latest round rolling in. We're having a tough time with your audio. We'll get back to you in a little bit. Why don't you get into safety here, as that wind is going to increase a little bit more as that band rolls in. You've got about 10 minutes until the heavier rain and wind rolls overhead. So we'll give you a break, get you to shelter. Right now, we do want to check in with our own Allison Walker-Torres, who is standing by with the very latest outages, power outages. And Allison, I can imagine the numbers probably starting to climb.
Big time. Big difference here, Brian. All right, check it out. We've actually combined all power companies, Duke, Florida Power and Light, as well as OUC. Starting right now with Brevard, 129,000 people right now without power. That's Florida Power and Light. So that's about 42% of all of the customers. That's Brevard. Total here in Orange County, 24,000 people in Orange County. Volusia County, 34,000 people without power right now as we speak. In Seminole County, 24,000 people. In Flagler, only 4,700 right now. That's small compared to the rest of this. The big number right now, 129,000. And Brian, we're also getting reports from Brevard County Emergency Management of big roof damage. This is happening on North Merritt Island and Joseph Court. So we'll definitely want to keep our eye out on that area. Brian, back to you.
All right. Maureen McCann is joining me as we're pulling up some of the cameras here. We are watching the waves come up. I'm trying, now that we're getting some daylight and Maureen's trying to load up some of these cameras, we're getting some images coming in. Wow, yeah, actually, I thought they were drops. These are actually some very big waves.
Let's put them here on.
Yeah, let's do. Well, here, am I going to have to I probably have to reset that. And obviously, with the wind pounding our cameras along the coast, some of them are going in and out. And will require at least being reset. I've got it here, but unfortunately, it's not coming in over there.
Looks like it's not making it there. We may be able to get a still image of it if we go back to Max 1.
Here,
Oh,
try this.
Again?
Try this. Yep. Sorry, we're on the fly here. We'll try this. Let me reset it one more time.
Okay.
And
there we go. I can see it.
You got it. Okay,
All right,
perfect.
We will bring that back in
Perfect.
on the camera view. This is our Shepherd Park camera at Cocoa Beach, making sure it comes through.
Radar out. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And let me see what we've got on the radar while we were looking at that shot. And I'm going to take a very quick break. So I'm going to let you and Mallory talk. Wow, look at those crashing waves. That's not sea spray. That's not drops. Those are the waves.
Yeah, and again, sunrise is at 7:22 this morning, so we're going to be able to see more of this, and you're going to be able to see more of this too outside your door, in your yard, and share those photos with us so we can see what happened overnight with the strongest winds and the rain. So that is Cocoa Beach. Certainly very rough, pounding surf. Typically don't see the ocean looking like that when we stop by this camera, and weather on the ones all the time. Our other cameras, again, some of them have been dropping out because of connectivity issues, and this one right here, that's the Ruin Zipper Camp, the Ocean Deck Restaurant in Daytona Beach. We will get that coming back up too. But how about downtown? If you are just waking up, we actually have good visibility, but the wind last hour at Orlando Executive Airport up to 38 miles per hour. So definitely some strong gusts here inland, but not quite what they're seeing over at the coast. We'll continue to check in with those cameras now that we can actually see them and the sun is coming up. Winds are strongest now out of these locations, now in Daytona Beach. Melbourne, winds have moved around to the west, a sign that the storm has made its way to the north because of the counterclockwise rotation around an area low pressure like this. We're going to see our winds gradually go back to the northwest and west. Lakeland finding that too, but clearly the strongest wind gusts have been at the coast. Through the next few hours, we will see those peak gusts approach places like Daytona Beach and Palm Coast and north of Flagler County into St. Johns County. That will be during the early afternoon, but you can see how the winds really do drop off by this evening. Not entirely. It's not going to be perfectly calm. We're still going to have a windy to breezy weekend up ahead of us, but behind it, the winds should dramatically drop. And more southern Brevard County, southern Osceola, down towards Martin and St. Lucie County, the winds will be improving significantly there over the next few hours. A reminder of the flood warnings that we have still posted, because this isn't just the wind. We have to talk about the rain. Another 2 to 3 inches possible within these bands. This is the warning, meaning it goes until 8:30 this morning. And already been checking in with the rain gauges from the CoCoRaHS network. That is the network of observers with backyard rain gauges. And if you'd like to join that, definitely check that out. But the highest one I've seen has been in Palm Bay, over 4 inches of rain there. So if you have a rainfall total, if you have a backyard rain gauge, let us know what's happening. You can tweet us directly at MyNews13 Weather. Still to come, more rain, perhaps another 3 to 6 inches in some areas through 8 a.m. Some of those rain gauges may be filling up over 3 to 4 inches, and even inland. This isn't just a coastal threat. We're going to see those rain gauges fill up with the flood watch continuing through 8 o'clock tonight. Of course, by tomorrow morning, the rain is going to decrease significantly. Now on to Storm Tracker 13, watching that placement of the eye, now lifting to the north of Cape Canaveral. The latest advisory had it about 35 miles to the east-northeast of Cape Canaveral. Going for a closer view to show you where the most intense bands are. And of course, they are out over the water with the darkest reds and oranges. But Flagler, Volusia counties, you are seeing some of that significant heavy rain filling in right now. And this is just about to move in on the coast. Going in for a closer view of this squall right here, some of the heaviest rainfall. This is Ormond Beach and National Gardens, Mound Grove, some of the areas seeing some significant rainfall rates. In fact, we can find those rainfall rates on Storm Tracker 13. I will pause this and we'll switch over from the reflectivity to the rainfall rates to show you where it is the most intense right now. The rain rate right now on Storm Tracker 13 within this area, maybe a little bit of a lag in the data, but to see what may be coming on shore very close, some of the rainfall rates over an inch an hour. We have seen in these areas the rainfall rates over a ½ inch an hour, and that certainly has been piling up, and we will see that continue with the next few hours as the observations come in from around Central Florida. While I'm over here, let's go to rainfall totals again, see how much rain has been falling in the area over the last 24 hours. In fact, a lot of it occurred over interior sections. 24-hour rainfall rates have been highest over Seminole County and at far northern Orange County. Go in and detect what's happening here with some of the rainfall amounts. Again, this is what's going to lead to flooding when we add on to what has already fallen. Some of these 24-hour rainfall amounts have been as high as near Apopka, over 4 inches of rain within the darker green shading on the western side of Orange County, down towards the attractions, over an inch. And of course, over in Brevard County, you can plot some of those here too, with rainfall rates around 1 to 3 inches over the last 24 hours. The other thing we've been monitoring are the storm reports coming in. We don't usually see these icons on the map. You can tell the difference, the tropical storm icons and the hurricane report icons. That's where winds have been over, hurricane force being 74 miles per hour. Just to bring you up to speed on what's been coming in since the storm started. Inland areas, you've seen winds as high as 48 miles per hour in Orlando and also in Harmony. You've had those strong winds, but they've clearly been highest at the coast, and that is why as the sun comes up, we're likely going to see a lot of damage in these areas with the peak gusts near Playa Linda Beach around 88 miles per hour. On to the radar imagery to show you exactly what is happening now. Looking at the vertical structure of the storm, the deepest reds and oranges off the coast, with these areas moving off to the north-northwest. This indicates some of the heaviest rain is going to bypass land and stay out over over the water. Cape Canaveral, you have seen some of the heaviest rain within the last hour. It looks like our extreme wind warning has expired. That was until 7:15, so that intense band has moved to your north just off the coast of Merritt Island. We'll be watching to see the progress of the western edge of this band, how close it would get to Volusia County. So our interests are really going to shift to the north of the Cape at this time as Matthew continues its track to the north-northwest around 14 miles per hour. I believe that was the 7 o'clock advisory. In fact, we'll see those numbers right here on Storm Tracker 13. Moving to the north-northwest at 14, close to the center of circulation. The amounts of wind have been as high as 120 miles per hour, and that latest forecast track continues it off to the north-northwest, kind of parallel to the coast, and then curving around and weakening as it moves closer to coastal Georgia and coastal sections of South Carolina. So I've got the forecast up here. I don't know who wants to go next, if Mallory's standing by, or want to get a quick look at the forecast for today, tonight, and things definitely improving by Saturday. So for people here on vacation, we should see a dramatic improvement tomorrow. Still a bit breezy, but I know we still have a lot of intense weather to get through this morning as Matthew is just off our coast.
Yeah, that's right, Maureen. And I do want to show you the wave heights here as we switch back over to Storm Tracker 13 Doppler radar. We were talking a little while ago. We were showing you some of our cameras, and I really wanted to bring up our Daytona Beach one. And Maureen, if you can get that pulled up on your show in just a second. I want to show you the ruin zipper cam, because every now and then when we get those waves to come in, they're coming all the way up to the dunes. And I do want to show you some of the numbers here along the East Coast. You can see in Brevard County around 10, 11 feet from this is around Melbourne and southward, even up toward Cape Canaveral. But as we head a little farther to the north, Volusia County getting some of the highest wave heights. You can see up near 20 feet for some of those estimated wave heights close to shore. So yeah, we're definitely going to get some of those waves to reach pretty high up there on the beach. And actually, as we approach high tide, it's around 12:30 up and down the East Coast, 12:30 p.m. We could see some coastal flooding as these wave heights continue to stay high. But notice just off to the south of Brevard County, maybe starting to lessen just a little bit. Now still pretty high with those wave height numbers, but maybe weakening down just a little bit as Matthew continues to move off to the north. And again, as we look at our radar picture here and take it through the loop, noticing that that eye wall is staying just off to the east of us. Now that's good news, but we're still getting quite a few impacts there from this storm as we are looking at some of those heavy rain bands moving ashore, mainly some moderate showers, but heavy at times, not getting a whole lot of lightning activity. And here's the other part. We were getting some circulation around this center of the storm. So if that stays off the coast, maybe we won't be dealing with any spin-ups across some of our inland areas. Now that threat not completely over just because Matthew is off to the east of us, but something that maybe we can view as a good sign if Matthew does stay away from making landfall anywhere here in Florida. And I do want to take you in a little bit closer to some areas dealing with some of those heavier showers right now. Hopefully you're not planning on heading out and about. I know some people maybe have to head to work, but do keep yourself safe if you're heading on the roads. We've been seeing this rain coming down for a few hours, so definitely some ponding on the roadways. And here in western Orange County over into portions of Lake County along the Florida Turnpike, Claremont, and down toward the parks, dealing with some of those heavier showers. And this does extend over into eastern portions of Seminole County, down into Orange County, up into Volusia County. But again, mainly across a good portion of Central Florida here, dealing with at least those light to moderate showers as Matthew continues to move off to the north. Now, as we look at some of our
Daytona Beach or Cocoa Beach?
Daytona Beach was showing some pretty good wave heights coming a little bit close to the shore. Maureen McCann trying to get some of our cameras now that the sun is coming up, but we're also getting some pictures to come in now that the sun is coming up. This one from Larry in the, I believe it was the Orlando area. I could be wrong with that, but uploading this shot to our News 13 Plus app, you can still see some of those heavier showers, visibility a bit rough, but I'm starting to notice some lighter conditions now that the sun is starting to come up. Thank you for sharing that shot with us as we go here into a look at our wave, or actually I think our wind speeds as we get this to lapse through here. There we go. Current wind gusts. I'll head over to the wall. We're looking at Sanford at 49 miles per hour, 58 there in Melbourne. We've seen that a little bit higher. Now notice Daytona Beach. Now that the eye wall is moving a little farther to the north of Titusville, those areas, Melbourne. These numbers aren't quite as high, but we do have Daytona Beach with a wind gust at around 64 miles per hour, 44 in Orlando, 49 again in Sanford. Even as far inland, we don't want to exclude you guys here across Marion Lake and Sumter counties. We're looking at a wind gust at 36 miles per hour in Leesburg, Ocala at 35, so not quite tropical storm force, but definitely some high winds in that area, and it could knock a few trees down if they aren't sturdy. Now here's a look at some of Matthew's winds. Getting a little bit tighter here with this center of circulation. We've been seeing that eye wall replacement over the last 24 hours. So the eye wall getting a little bit bigger and then reducing down, then getting bigger. But right now it's a little on the smaller side toward that center of circulation. But notice here some of those oranges and reds. That's your category 3-4 storm winds that are approaching Volusia County up into Flagler County. So still the potential for some hurricane force winds across those areas. As it moves a little farther inland, you get that wind to flow over land, the friction causing the wind speeds to drop down just a little bit. You can see yellows and greens backing off with that potential of hurricane force winds, mainly just some tropical storm force winds as you head a little farther inland. Now look at our track here. We do have it to remain as a category 3 storm. It looks like it's going to be keeping that status here for a good portion of today as it continues to track here along the east coast, and it does look like it may stay away from landfall. And even as it moves up here along the east coast, just skirting along the Georgia coastline up toward the South Carolina coastline and then wrapping around as we head into next week, but it does look like it's going to be weakening as it does so. So no big concern with that right now. We're just concerned with what we're dealing with today. That's that high wind along with some heavier rain and the potential of some storm surge. Now I do want to show you our winds. This is our hurricane force winds, that red there. You can see it was skirting the coastline by about 7:30 this evening, moving a little farther to the north. Now we could still get some tropical storm force winds into this evening for places in Flagler and Volusia County, and then that will move away as we head into Saturday. Throughout the day, conditions will start to improve. So a quick look at our futurecast for our wind speeds here. This is 9 o'clock this morning, still going to be pretty high. You can see that eye wall skirting across the coast and moving off to the north. So by 7 o'clock tonight, conditions across the south starting to improve, and that's going to be moving up to the north as we head into this evening. And I believe we have an update, so I'm going to send it over to Ebeth. Ebeth?
Thank you so much, Mallory. Time right now is 7:32 as we continue to monitor from our meteorologists the intensity of the wind and the rain. One of the big questions has been, let's get some updated information for you about power outages. So joining me now on the phone is spokesperson for FPNL, Florida Power and Light, Chris McGrath. Chris, are you there?
I am here.
Walk me through the different counties and what power outages you're seeing. Can we start with the coastal counties?
Sure. So the latest numbers we have right now, if you zoom into Brevard County, we've got 129,000 customers out at this hour. Just to the north in Volusia County, we've got just about 34,000 customers out. And then if we jog a little bit further north, if my map here will cooperate, up to Flagler County, we've got about 4,500 customers out. So I think this speaks to the power of this storm. And really up here in Central Florida, we're really starting to feel the effects of Matthew. We want customers with FPL and really, everyone up here in Central Florida to remain safe, keep safety top of mind, keep it your top priority, and know that we've got crews pre-positioned up here, and they're ready to start restoring power, and they have been restoring power so long as it's been safe to do so.
And we understand that component. That's a great reminder, Chris, to tell everybody watching right now who may have elderly family members or children in their home and they're out of power, thinking, please give us the power back. Folks, you got to take it easy, because these folks over at FPL and other power companies cannot risk lives. Safety first. Chris, let me ask you this. Any information on inland counties, Orange County, Seminole, Osceola, Polk?
Sure. So we don't have a lot of customers over in Orange County, but if we zoom up into, give me 1 second to see if my map cooperates. We do have a lot of customers in Seminole County, about 53,000. Currently, right now, about 6,500 without power. So that's kind of what we have inland. FPL largely serves the coastal communities, and of course, they're the ones being hardest hit right now.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. We'll keep checking in with you throughout the morning. Chris McGrath giving us updated information with FPL about power outages. Let's go ahead and bring back into the mix News 13's Jerry Hume, who's been riding out this hurricane over in Brevard County in Melbourne, specifically in a solid structure, a parking garage, where we're able to see the nasty conditions next to him. Now the sun is up, Jerry. We're seeing a lot more behind you there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Beth. We're getting our first look with daylight. It's kind of eerie. We see no vehicles on the roadways here in downtown Melbourne, usually a busy place at 7:35 in the morning. You can see, though, there's some damage. There's that awning that made its way across US 192 and is now sitting in the median. That is obviously something that's going to have to be cleaned up. We've heard clanking of metal. We've seen flying sheets and debris from palm trees, but that's about all we've seen from here. We've heard that there's perhaps roof damage or other tree damage to yards and pools across the Brevard County area, but we're going to have to check those out later when it's a little bit safer. You can see the winds still kicking up here in southern Brevard County, and you can see the debris left on the roadway right there. Plenty of stuff to see there. And continuing to deal with the waters. You can see down here there's lots of water that has been growing. It was pretty much empty at midnight when we got here. We'll continue to monitor things here in Melbourne. Reporting live in Brevard County, Jerry Hume, News 13.
All right, thank you very much, Jerry. We'll check in with you a little bit later on. Let's go ahead and go to Andy Wantor. She's been over at the Brevard County Emergency Operations Center. And what are you hearing about any damage or any other emergencies over in that part of Central Florida, Andy?
Well, we are still getting plenty of calls here at the Brevard County EOC. Lots of emergencies coming in, reports of down power lines, and of course power outages throughout the county here. Now, emergency crews are still not trying to get on the roads. It may be sunny, it may, the sun may have risen and it may be daylight, may be able to see outside a little bit better. May not look quite as scary, but it is still very dangerous conditions, especially since those down power lines are still in standing water in a lot of places. So these emergency crews are still doing all they can to stay inside and not be responding to any of these calls unless it is, of course, a severe emergency. The highest winds were actually recorded just 40 minutes ago, so we may be a little bit past the majority of the storm, but we are still very much in it. Ebeth?
Yes, we are. Thank you very much. Andy Wantar giving us the very latest over at the Brevard County AOC. She's been out there for hours and hours working to get you the very latest. We continue now at 7:37 on this Friday morning with News 13's Caitlin Jones. And as we hear the numbers of power outages, you have become the lifeline for a lot of these folks, and also our multimedia producers that are off to the side. We can't see them on camera, working feverishly to update everyone.
Yeah, they are, Beth. They're right beside me. There's quite a few of them over here just typing away, trying to get this updated for you on mynews13.com. We have all of the power outages listed for you, so you can go on yourself and get an idea of this. Florida and Orange County, that's topping around 17,784. This is the list for Duke Energy. So different areas, you can see what the outages are like there. Osceola County, 457 outages. You got another one up here. You can see it's affecting in Marion County, 125. So Orange County is the big one with that. But if we go down again, you can see the update in Brevard County still sitting around 129,000 outages. Now, I do want to show you a lot of the updates that we've seen online from a lot of our reporters and photographers that are out there. Eugene Buenaventura, he's been posting a lot of videos. This is at daylight. Look at that boat rocking and that wind still going. He's in Seminole County, and he showed this picture of this tree branch that nearly missed them when the winds were really picking up there. So dangerous area out there for sure. Jerry Hume, he's a reporter right now in Melbourne, and he posted this picture of a tree falling on a power line. Look at those sparks. That's very scary. And again, he is in a secure location, but that was when the winds were really starting to pick up there. Andy Wantor, she posted this video of those extreme extreme winds in Brevard County. Now, remember, if you are seeing damage to your home or wherever you are, you still are at your home, you can still go to a shelter. Governor Rick Scott tweeted out that there are still plenty of shelters that have plenty of room. So you can go to mynews13.com/hurricane, and we have a list of all of those. You just find your county, click on it, and then you're going to get a link for all the emergency shelters in your area. Look at this. This is just Orange County. So there's a lot of shelters around. Red means they're regular shelters. Green means that they are pet friendly. So yeah, you can bring your dogs and your cats. And then there's also blue, which is for special needs. So it is not too late to get out and go to those shelters if you need to. Again, that's mynews13.com/hurricane. You can find a shelter in your county. And I'm going to continue to update you on what's going on online on our website and on social media as daybreak starts and we start to really see some of this damage out there. And I'll show you more in the next hour. In the Web Center, I'm Caitlin Jones.
Thanks so much, Caitlin. Before I toss it to Jason Lanning, I want to say something. I'm here on our website on the computer next to me, checking out what she said. And if you feel like you need to go to a shelter, don't do it right now because the winds are crazy and you need to kind of just stay put wherever you are. But on the website, like she mentioned, you've got the outages, but you can also report that you have an outage. And when I'm looking out there, we have Duke Energy, Florida Power and Light, Ocala Electric Utility Power Outage Map, OUC, you name it. There's just company after company. So wherever you are, we've got you covered there. All right, Jason Lanning joining us now. Once again, you're over in the Fort Pierce area, South Florida. Things seem to calm down just a little bit where you are.
Right, we are now on the backside of Hurricane Matthew. It is officially north of our area, that final rain band. So that is obviously the good news. We want to pan off here and give you a look right outside of our hotel. And this is a number of people that evacuated, came here to shelter in during the storm. And they will be here in the next hour or two, be getting out and about if they're able to check damage at their own properties. Most of them closer to the coast and up here in Fort Pierce from the Port Lucie area. We want to take you to the overnight. I'm not sure if we had time to get that video ready from just outside of our hotel, but we can tell you we did not quite hit a Category Force 1 winds here. We did see sustained tropical storm force winds and some significant gusts that brought at least one tree down outside of our hotel. We're also receiving reports of downed power lines in Fort Pierce, as well as some large trees blocking some roadways. So it could take a few more hours for us to get out and about and get a decent damage assessment. We did get reports, though, of some storm surge flooding on the Barrier Islands here in St. Lucie County, as well as some sporadic damage reports in and around the Fort Pierce area. Ebeth?
All right, thank you so much. Jason Lanning, maybe you can change from those wet clothes. I know it must feel like you're inside a washer. We'll see you in a little bit later on throughout the day. Thanks, Jason Lanning. All right, let's go ahead and continue now at 7:42, talking to Ryan Harper with a traffic update. Actually, we'll check on the traffic in a moment. Let's talk about the forecast. Again, of course, that is the #1 story. We have meteorologists, and I'm waiting. Maureen McCann. We have so many today. I have to wait and see. Talk to us about the trajectory of this path now at 7:42.
Northwesterly, Beth, and as it moves in this direction, I'll go back over to radar before I get to the camera since you asked me that question. The radar imagery has the center circulation now northeast of Cape Canaveral. So as it continues to move in this direction to the north-northwest, you can see how the center will likely stay parallel to the coast, but those strong bands on the left side of the storm are impacting parts of Merritt Island and Cape Canaveral right now. So that's what's happening on radar. Now the sun has risen, although we can't see much of it because of the overcast. The cameras are now visible, although the connectivity is kind of difficult to be able to get to these cameras. So even though this camera is tilted down, it kind of shows you exactly what's happening. We'll try to reset it when we get a chance, but you can see how the wind is bringing that water in, and of course the rain still falling on the ruined zipper cam at the Ocean Deck Restaurant on Daytona Beach. Of course, we show you cameras throughout the morning, and it looks like our Cocoa Beach camera is now back up. Wasn't sure if we were going to be able to see that, but this is the view over in Shepherd Park, and again, these are still images. We can see how they somewhat animate, but the wave heights very high there, and the pounding surf is going to lead to severe beach erosion there in Brevard County. And our inland areas also seeing a fair amount of rain and wind. Haven't stopped by this one yet this morning. This is the Jenkins Hyundai of Leesburg Skycam in Claremont on top of the Citrus Tower. Of course, that has been bouncing around in the wind. And then downtown, we had winds as high as about 40 miles per hour at the Executive Airport. We'll see if we get any new gusts in, but the rain and the low clouds certainly evident as we check out the view over downtown. Certainly a lot of lights there showing that we still have power downtown. Flood warnings continue until 8:30 for these highlighted areas. So in addition to the wind, of course, we have the rain, an additional 2 to 3 inches possible on top of what's going to fall throughout the late morning into the early afternoon as the storm system continues to travel to the north-northwest and bring in these bands. But for the last hour or so, we've had the steadiest rain out over the water. If this storm had any difference in the track off to the west, even by 10, 15 miles, the impacts would have been so much greater in southern and central Brevard County. But these bands right here, we can tell by the vertical structure, the taller the cloud, the stronger the thunderstorm, and those just aren't over land right now. Of course, we are seeing some very intense bands of rain and wind coming into coastal sections of Brevard County, Merritt Island included. So we need to be watching Storm Tracker 13 very closely to these areas. Daytona Beach also getting some heavy rain right now, and you can see a little bit of a peak there with some stronger storms or higher cloud tops, but this is out over the water, and that's where the steadiest bands are on the northern edge of the eye. When we transition back to this view, you can clearly see that eye, and it's a pretty good diameter across. Seems to be a little bit smaller. You can see how there's a few bands kind of filling in on the southern edge, but the most intense activity has been out over the water. But Flagler, Volusia counties, we're watching you because this is where some of the heavy rain is moving inland at this time, and the conditions are such that dealing with wind gusts that may be over 40 to 50 miles per hour, and then these rain rates that have been around 1 to 2 inches an hour or more. And since we last checked in, it's still been Ormond Beach getting some very heavy rainfall right now in northern reaches of Volusia County, and that trend will continue as the eye itself moves to the north-northwest around 14 miles per hour. Now that western side of the eye wall brings some heavy rain closer to these communities in Brevard County, so increasing rain and wind. This is going to lift a little bit more to the north as I've set this up, so Rockledge, maybe the steadiest, will stay north of you, but even interior sections of Orange County, Christmas, could be seeing this rainfall moving in your direction after 8 o'clock. Same with coastal sections of southern Volusia County. Here's another look at some of those downpours and the wind-driven rain that's occurring in Volusia County. These are going to continue to push inland, creating those wind gusts that may be over 60 miles per hour across places like De Leon Springs and Pearson and Astor between now and after 8 o'clock. The latest update on Hurricane Matthew, we've been getting these hourly, which is very important because any shift in this track would have major implications, and we'll get these updates when a storm is close to land. It has winds of 120 miles per hour, and it's moving to the north-northwest at 14. Earlier this morning, it was cruising along to the northwest, but that turn to the north-northwest was critical to keep it removed directly from Brevard County. Wave heights are a significant issue with the storm surge, especially as we approach high tide during the midday hours. The wave heights seem to be the highest right now. Volusia County, northern Brevard, and out towards Cape Canaveral, the water starting to recede a little bit, going down to the south into St. Lucie County and Martin County. Wave heights throughout the day will also improve from south to north, but we still have several more hours of this high water, especially Flagler and northern Volusia counties, going up towards St. Augustine and Jacksonville and coastal Georgia and South Carolina. So you can tell by the overnight hours, our waters begin to go down, but it's still going to be a bit choppy out there over the weekend. So we have to closely monitor storm surge, that rising water that is combined by a few different different things. Of course, you have pressure going down with an area of low pressure, such as a hurricane. So you have the pressure decreasing, wave heights rising, and then we also have that wind pushing the water closer to land based on the trajectory around the northern side of the storm. So that's going to push the water up against these low-lying areas at the coast, Daytona Beach and Palm Coast, and we can illustrate that also on top of some of the other impacts that we've been tracking in our county by county forecast. Now, you always see us show this in Weather on the Ones, but I really want to focus on what you can expect in all of our counties, because the impacts will be different as they go from the coast inland. Extensive beach erosion, very heavy rain, totals of 5 to 8 inches or more, and of course those hurricane strength winds. We've seen those in Brevard County already, up to around 100 to 110 miles per hour, or 107 I believe was the last one we saw at Playa Linda Beach, and the extensive beach erosion is going to be a concern around the time of high tide. The rainfall rates heaviest within those bands in the northern part of the county right now. Some of those may eventually slide in towards St. Cloud and Holopaw and Kenansville, about 3 to 6 inches here, including the risk for isolated tornadoes pretty much in all of our counties. Although that threat has been fairly low, we haven't seen a lot of those spin-ups. It's still possible within these intense bands. So we'll monitor that in Seminole County, even away from the coast, Marion Lake and Sumter counties. The minor power outages are expected. Along with here in Orange County, we will continue to track those. And the next 7 days, if you are here on vacation, looking ahead to this weekend, when are things going to clear out? We will have some lingering showers through tomorrow, and then things will improve significantly with decreasing rain. But of course, we still got a lot to talk about on Storm Tracker 13 and the implications this will have on roadways. Of course, a lot of people not traveling today, staying safe at home. But Ryan has the latest on the roads right now. He's back with real-time traffic. Hey, Ryan.
Thank you, Mo. Good morning. And first off, we do not recommend anybody really traversing the Central Florida roadways today, because this is what you are dealing with. What a great picture from our radar here. You can really see how Hurricane Matthew is affecting some of your Central Florida roadways this morning. And we do have some pretty significant problem spots out there to report as well. Starting off on the I-95 corridor in Port Orange. Near State Road 421, there's a downed tree across I-95. FHP is tracking it right now. 3 lanes are blocked in that area. And it does look like we actually have some congestion approaching that scene there on that I-95 corridor. So certainly something to keep in mind through there. Earlier, we had a very serious crash along US 192 in the St. Cloud area at Vermont Avenue. You can see that purple coloration traveling westbound. That would suggest the road is still closed for right now. We've also been told that when they actually reopen the roadway, it's going to be on flash. So it's going to be used as a 4-way stop. I recommend maybe avoiding that particular stretch of 192, maybe taking 10th Street. Again, if you must be traveling this morning, maybe on your way to work or for an emergency or anything like that. Other than that, you should stay inside, because again, we're looking at some very high winds in that area, and we're tracking some crashes around there, and you're dealing with this morning, so be on the lookout for that, of course. This update brought to you by your Central Florida Honda dealers. Now over to our weather center now for your latest update on Hurricane Matthew.
And our team coverage continues here. We have been waiting for photos to come in. Now the sun is up. We're starting to get a lot of them, and it's just going to take us some time to actually get them into our system, but we're working on that right now. I know Chief Meteorologist Brian Carrick is behind the scenes. Is this one of our new pictures?
This one we showed a little while ago, but it's, within the last hour as the sun was starting to come up. We're also getting some trees down in some areas as people are waking up and realizing some of those powerful winds overnight, maybe while you were sleeping or just staying indoors away from your windows and stuff, noticing maybe a little bit of damage to start out the day as Matthew continues to skirt off just to our east. And just looking at some of the rainfall totals, and I'll head over to the wall as we look at the radar. Rainfall totals coming in. Again, this is from the CocoRoss network. So this tells us people who have backyard rain gauges and they are weather enthusiasts and they want to share their rainfall totals. The highest one I'm seeing, Sanford, 6.17 inches, Apopka 5.96, and Palm Bay 4.22. So it's an inland area that has the highest rainfall total that we've seen. Again, from the CocoRoss network, Sanford 6.17 inches. Again, any reports that you have, any photos, as long as you are in a safe location, share them on our app, News 13 Plus. You also can interact with us directly on Facebook and Twitter. We can get to those a little bit faster at My News 13 Weather. But this is really the way to go, because this also
will be the way for you to get information. And if you have power now and you may soon lose it, you can get critical alerts through the app, and also you can track the showers as they, or the rain as it moves north. A reminder of our Facebook page, if you haven't liked us yet, we've seen a lot of interaction there. Go to News 13 Weather. Very good way for you to interact with us. So we'll get new numbers in at the top of the hour. And now, if you see that update come in while I'm here at the wall, just let me know, because we have a Category 3 storm right now just off our coast by about 30 miles. Extensive damage likely with a scenario like this. And now that we're getting daylight and now that people are able to assess the damage in their area, you're able to see exactly what occurred. So sustained winds between 111, 130 miles per hour is what you typically see with the Saffir-Simpson. These power outages that you may be encountering or you may soon encounter may last quite some time, over a week, if not longer. So that's why having our app will really keep you safe in the event that you do lose power and you can't watch News 13. We're also available on a variety of our radio partners as a simulcast to help guide people through the storm as conditions gradually improve later on today. But some of our heaviest rainfall right now moving back over towards Cape Canaveral and Merritt Island. You can see the western edge of this band right here. Intense bursts of wind are also going to be happening here. And even in Orlando, I can go over to a close-up view of Orange County, because we've seen steady rain, but we're about to get a squall coming in. You can see how that is moving closer to the 417 and eventually through the Wedgefield area. You've likely seen some stronger gusts. This will also move down towards Lake Nona and Hunters Creek south of Orlando International Airport. Those are some of the stronger storms. Been using this throughout the day as an excellent tool to be able to determine the most intense bands, where they're located and where they are in respect to land. And throughout the last few hours, we've seen them mostly out over the water. Of course, that's what we like to see. Keeps it away from our highly populated areas along the coast. But we're not out of the woods yet. These bands that are coming in on the western side of the low still have the potential of producing tropical storm, if not hurricane force winds. Remember, we've been saying all along with Matthew, this isn't just a point on the map. When you see where the center of circulation is, hurricane winds can extend 45 miles away from the center. If I can pause this here, maybe we can draw a tracker to be able to see exactly how far 45 miles is from that center of circulation. We can look at it from this perspective too. Keep it in the 3D mode just to show you that the 45 miles away from the center. Again, that still does come over land, so we have the risk of those hurricane force winds close to the center. These numbers will soon be updated. In fact, as I switch over the graphic, wasn't sure if it would show the newest numbers now, but winds to 120 miles per hour, and it's moving to the north-northwest at 14. It will continue its track in that direction, likely, if not curve back to the north. So that's why we're anticipating the next advisory to come in, and it looks like it did just come in now. Take a look at the advisory as of the 8 o'clock hour, which reads that it is about 35 miles to the north-northeast of Cape Canaveral, and winds are still at 100 miles per hour. So I'll go back to this, and maybe these are the newer numbers. The pressure has come up a little bit. I believe it was 939 last advisory. That tends to be a sign of weakening. Of course, the eye wall and the center of circulation can still undergo some fluctuations, so we may see that vary, but that is up a little bit, the pressure, and the speed is down by just 1 mile per hour. It is still moving that track to the north-northwest with winds of 120 miles per hour. So that is the 8 a.m. numbers as it just hugs the coast of Brevard County, going close to southern Volusia County. So you can see how the conditions will be improving further to the south, especially down towards West Palm Beach and St. Lucie County. Some of the winds that we've seen have been the strongest out over the water, but this really shows that circulation very close to Cape Canaveral. The color enhancement brings us back to a Category 1 strength, possibly from the east of I-4, but it's really along the coast that the threats will be the greatest. I believe this is the updated track, and by 2 o'clock we should have this north of Flagler County, and we'll move those around next time we check in with it, but the updated track still brings it very rapidly away from Florida by this evening. And the spaghetti model plots, again, kind of tough to see from this perspective. I can pan up and get a better view of where they are. The model showing the consensus going up towards the north-northwest throughout the morning, eventually off the coast of Jacksonville. Current wind speeds elsewhere in central Florida, these are definitely down in Melbourne since the last we checked in, but you can tell by the arrows here the direction. This is a sign that the storm has lifted a little bit more to the north as opposed to Melbourne. When the storm was just off your coast, you had the winds coming in directly out of the north. So the wind's still gusty across interior sections. That's enough to certainly do additional damage, but the core of the strongest winds will be held in close proximity to the hurricane itself. I want to see if there's any updates as to how far. Hurricane force winds extend 60 miles from the center of circulation. Of course, a lot of that can be out over the water, but the threat may be for parts of Flagler and Volusia counties to see those winds over hurricane strength throughout the late morning hours, and then it's going to continue that track parallel to Duval County and St. Johns County away from Florida, and that will allow our conditions to improve. Another reminder, we still have hurricane warnings area-wide, the exception being Marion Lake and Sumter counties. You are included in a tropical storm warning. So we'll check out the 7-day forecast while we have a chance. Not sure where we're going next, but actually I guess we'll go back to Storm Tracker 13 just to get our bearings, and again we'll go to the conditions here from a different perspective on our radar, and I'll stick with this for a minute just to track where some of these bands are going to be going. So the outlook is such that some of the heaviest rain right now is moving into southern parts of, or the northern